Good morning, and welcome to Plymouth's Sunday Forum. We're very glad you're here, whether here in person with us or watching online. Before we start today's program, I have a brief announcement. We are both happy and sad this morning to announce that our tech person, Alice Johnson, is leaving us. He's been offered a wonderful position in charge of the sound systems at First Avenue, and so we are very happy for him. But we're very sad to see him go. We send him off with all our best wishes. Congratulations and thank you, Alex. This morning's forum is presented by our Immigrant Welcoming Working Group. And right now, I'd like to turn the microphone over to Tom Hay, who will introduce the program. Tom?
Yeah, thanks, Jackie, and thanks all of you for being here today, this morning. It's not, okay. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done this. I need to be retrained. Is that better? Yes. Okay, good. Yeah, so I said, Jackie, thank you. All of you who are here, thank you, and particularly to John, who's coming in with his new shoulder. Yeah, this is, as we said, an important time right now for the Immigrant Welcoming Group and the work we're doing, in large part because of what we're going to be talking about today, the sanctuary, the North Star Act. A little bit of background about it. First of all, this is something that has been, work on this has been going on for several years. About 5 years ago, a set of faith communities in the state established the Sanctuary State Coalition and began working on issues like this. In the last legislative session, not the 2023 session, but the 2022 session, we introduced a bill. Last year, we got a lot more support for that bill. We got two very strong principal authors, chief authors, Representative Sandra Feist in the House and Senator Omar Fateh in the Senate. Senator Fateh was supposed to be here this morning. Unfortunately for us, the legislative session is heating up and he had something else he had to get to. So he apologizes for not being here and you get me as a stand-in. I'm going to talk for a few minutes just introducing, provide a little bit of background and context for this, and then I'll hand things over to Adriana Cerrillo. Just a little bit of intro to Adriana. They said I should be patient with this and it will turn on. Adriana came here from Mexico as a teenager, right? And was originally in Florida. In Florida, she began her activism, establishing an organization there to work for immigrant rights. She came here to Minnesota, has continued that activism, and is now the lead organizer for the North Star Alliance, a group of over 30 organizations, immigrant-led organizations, legal organizations, faith communities, all working to pass the bill that we're going to talk about today. So it's not turning on. Yeah, it's someone who knows how to push the on-off button. Okay, there we go. So what I want to do is just provide a little bit of context for this bill and why it's important before I hand it over to Adriana. And the first thing is, immigrants are important for Minnesota. There are 500,000 immigrants in our state, most of whom are documented. Most of them have been here more than 10 years. And they pay a lot in taxes, they contribute a lot to our economy, so they're an essential part of who we are and what we are in this state and the services they provide. I mean, basically, if you look at that list, immigrants keep us fed, they keep us healthy, they keep our buildings clean. So this is, and the other thing that's not there, because it's a little bit lower on the list, is high tech. They keep our laptops and our phones working for us. So in all ways, they're crucial. A lot of children are in families with immigrants, one or more immigrants in the family. So this is an important part of who we are in this state. Okay. All right, well, try again. All right, so it doesn't matter that much. And immigrants are becoming more important. If you look at state data, our population in Minnesota is close to flatlining. It would be decreasing if we didn't have immigrants joining us each year. So we have a robust economy that needs more people working. Immigrants are providing an important part of that workforce. And if the slide ever came up, you'd see that the places that's most important are in greater Minnesota, where populations would shrink without immigrant. Okay, thanks. So there's the slide. The big bump in population is in the metro area. You can see most of the rest of the state will be losing population if we don't have immigrants joining us. So this is important. Okay, now, the other important thing is if you've read some of the bad press lately, you hear about all these horrible criminals coming in. If you look at the numbers, these are numbers from ICE on their monthly detention rates. And this comes from the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse at Syracuse University, a great source of information on this stuff. But about 2/3 of detainees have no criminal record. And most of those who do have a criminal record, it's a traffic offense. It's something minor. And even more interesting or more amazing than that is if you look at immigration court records from the past July till now, only 0.29% of the cases are deportation based on alleged criminal activity. And look at that, there's a decimal point there in front of that point. Okay, so 3/10 of the US population is about 1.2 million people. 3/10 of the population, of the immigrant population in this country is about a little less than 1 million people. So what's the conclusion? Who's more law-abiding? Yeah. It ain't us natural-born citizens. And that's been proven over two decades of research. So, there are reasons why this. Okay, now, what's the North Star Act about? Well, the purpose of state and local government isn't to enforce immigration law. It's to promote the health and the safety and the well-being of all of us. And I like to think about this by going back to the Declaration of Independence, where it says what? All people are created equal, endowed with certain inalienable rights, life, like health, liberty, safety, and the pursuit of happiness, our well-being. And that's what governments are instituted to do. That's what the North Star Act is about. Immigrants deserve the same respect as the rest of us. They're making really significant contributions. So let's have laws that reflect that. And that's what the North Star Act is about. The ICE doesn't help us, enforce traffic laws or investigate murders in the state. There's no reason why our law enforcement should be helping ICE with their immigration enforcement. It's wasting our resources that should go to other things. We want to encourage then immigrants to feel safe, to feel respected, to be able to trust that they can go and interact with local law enforcement. They can go and take advantage of healthcare services. They can, take their children to schools and not worry that they're going to be handed over to ICE as a result of this. So that's what we're looking at here. This will save the state money, it will improve our economy, and, it's the right thing to do. So at this point, I think I'm going to shut up. I've said more than enough. I might come back for one slide at the end, or I might just read it to you. But I think at this point, I'll hand things off to Adriana, and she can tell us more about this.
The webpage up in here or no?
Pardon?
Can we put the webpage up or no?
I don't have any
Okay, no, it's not a problem. Can we put the webpage up? Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Gracias, Tom. Buenos días. Buenos días. Oh, buenos días. There you go. That's the spirit. Thank you. My name is Adriana Cerrillo, and I have the honor of being the lead coordinator for this incredible effort. I came on board in March of last year. I do contract work for different organizations. I've been in Minnesota for almost 11 years, lived in Florida before that. I also happened to serve in the Minneapolis Board of Education, got elected in 2020, and the very first Mexicana ever elected in the history of Minneapolis Public Schools. I've been raising two, oh, gracias. I'm honored to, I had an incredible team of young people that were so upset at the system, and they believed that we needed to have representation. So I'm up for re-election this year, but this is not my campaign trail. I'm still digesting into what is the next step. I've been raising two of my nephews whose mother self-deported. So the issue of immigrant rights is personal to me. It's very personal. That is a little painful as well. But I feel very fortunate and very blessed, and I am so grateful for having this opportunity because this is part of my healing journey as well. Tom mentioned there are over 30, there are over 40 now different organizations that are supporting this bill, and they're located throughout the state of Minnesota. Challenges that we have is just the reality of the political landscape, right? And I feel that, I welcome challenges in my life. I feel that, we are bringing not controversy. To some people, it feels like controversial. To me, it's just an opportunity to prove ourselves and to get prepared for what is coming our way. Because I'm not very hopeful into, what is going to take place this presidential election. And if we have the individual that said that he's going to utilize state and local resources to do a mass deportation, we need to ensure that we do everything that we have within our power in the state of Minnesota to not allow that. And my hope is that we can do it as Minnesotans, that we can do that. There's a lot of misconception into, we are protecting criminals, right? So there are many things that people don't understand. So I'm gonna just mention a few things, and then I'm gonna open the space for conversation, because this is how we can learn better together. Does this bill undermine public safety? Absolutely not. This bill will enhance public safety, because what we want is to have our immigrant communities to feel safe, calling law enforcement to report crimes. Because if we are in a situation, for example, of domestic violence, or if we see somebody wanting to break into our neighbor's house, right? We want to be able to feel that we can call law enforcement and not be deported. So this bill makes it more likely that immigrants will report crimes or serve as a witness in court, making it easier to prosecute criminals, because it is not a crime to be in the United States of America without documentation. That is just not a fact. If you came in and then you were deported and you came back recently, they made it a crime. But it has been the history that it is not. So let's not get confused with that. This bill explicitly does not interfere with any state, federal collaboration for criminal enforcement. It relates exclusively to civil immigration enforcement. This bill will make sure that Minnesota's schools, health facilities, and courthouses remain safe and accessible to all Minnesotan residents. The last thing that we want to have is our children to be afraid that immigration is going to come. And as I mentioned, right, with the promises of a fascist individual that believes that his administration can come and snatch our children, it's sickening to me. So just a few things that, what is it that we can do? I know that your church, and I'm so grateful for the leadership that you all have in here, because faith in action is just the most incredible thing that we can do to serve. I know that we are working on some postcards that we're going to be sending to our representatives, but I will encourage you all to call leadership. And the president of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, they need to hear from all of us, because they are in, I cannot speak for them, but I mean, it's just, to me, they are being a little, I don't know, like afraid, yeah, from the far right. And we need to encourage them and let them know that we are here for them, that we have their back. So they need to hear from us, with love and respect, because at the end of the day, if we have all DFL leaders on board, not only we can make this happen, but also we can make this happen through provisions or in whatever way that looks like. I'm going to stop there and invite my compañero, my brother, partner in justice, Tom, so that we can open up the space for Q&A. Any questions in here?
Yeah. I'd just like to add a couple of things, and what can you do? The postcards are out there. Sign it. Yeah, okay. This will be interesting. The postcards are out there. We encourage you to go ahead, fill out a postcard and send it in. Even if you live in a district where your representative and your senator are sympathetic to this, it's important to make contact with them. There are a lot of bills, that are up this year for passage. And some bills get priority, some bills don't. The louder the voices are, the better chance we have that our bill will in fact get priority. So, now, good, first question.
Is the postcard the best way to be heard, or is there another way?
I'm sorry?
Is the postcard the best way to be?
Honestly, I mean, it's making a phone call, the postcard, sharing with your family, making sure that, all your family members are making those phone calls, whatever, emails as well. In whatever way of communicating, it is easier for me. I feel like it's like this is a battle, so we need to be attacking, in all fronts. So, yes, absolutely.
So not only our representative and senator, but the House majority leaders?
The House and the Senate.
And the Senate majority leaders.
Senator
Okay, so
Murphy.
Jamie Long is our House, yeah, okay, great.
Yes, absolutely the leaders, because they're the ones who have the power to bring things forward. The other thing is, Representative Feist has told us and emphasized, you don't have to spend a lot of time at this. A simple email message matters at the state level. The people keep a tally of how many pros, how many cons they get. So you don't have to spend a lot of time crafting a letter and think, oh my God, I don't have time for this. You have time. It's a 2-minute exercise to zip this off.
Track social media, and so you're any kind of positive comments on Twitter or X or whatever it is, or Facebook or Instagram.
Put that on the right.
All those the legislators track, and so do they do nationally track what is the chatter on social media. So help blunt the negative messages with positive messages.
Yes, absolutely. And letters to the editor. I heard that there is a wonderful letter to the editor in today's Star Tribune. So please make sure that you read it, and invite you to do that as well. Absolutely.
Okay. I understand that Ron Latz This is on? Okay. I understand that Ron Latz, who is a Democrat, is not currently supportive of the North Star Act. Are there other Democratic leaders who are not supportive? What reasons are we hearing for that? And what can we do about it?
You want to take on that?
Oh, you know Senator Latz better than I. You start, I'll tell.
All right, wonderful. As Tom mentioned, I mean, we have to go through leadership. Who are the gatekeepers? It's the President of the Senate and the Speaker of the House. And we do have some senators and representatives in support, but a divided House is not going to take us anywhere. We need to get on board Senator Murphy and Representative Melissa Hortman. So when it comes to Senator Latz, I've been in conversations with him many times. And what he said clearly is that if we don't have all the votes, he will not allow this to be heard in his committee. He is the chair of the legislative committee in the Senate, and he was very clear. So I was like, I welcome the challenge, absolutely. So the senators that have been vocal are the ones that are in very vulnerable districts. And those are individuals like in the Duluth area, right? In some areas that they won by a slim margin. But I remain hopeful. You know, we're continuing to organize in Greater Minnesota and to establish conversations. We had a very good conversation with Senator, oh my gosh, I'm blanking out, France, I think, yes, from the Mankato area. And he said that he was getting a lot of calls, negative calls. So calling, emailing, just providing the support, as I mentioned, you know, it's very critical. So how many people do we have here? I'm gonna so where do we live? I live in Minneapolis. Hopkins? Edina?
St. Louis Park.
Oh, Latz is your senator. There you go, there you go. So Falcon Heights, wonderful. So, and then out of that, so if we can ourselves organize, right? And what is the best way that we can do it? I mean, you gather in this place of, you know, sanctuary that you have faith and you believe and you worship, right? So how do we expand that to our network? Who do you know? Get on the phone. Some questions?
Let me just interject a little bit more on this. A lot, you know, one of the reasons that, you know, the leadership, you know, part of the leadership initially, you know, expressed reservations about this bill is because they didn't read the bill. They didn't learn about the bill. You know, what they saw were a couple of newspaper articles, and unfortunately, when the press first got on this, they characterized it as a sanctuary state bill. You know, okay, so, and we know the word sanctuary is toxic in some circles. So that's a word we've tried very hard to avoid using. There's no, you know, there's no sanctuary here. This is, you know, this really is about separation of state and local activities, government activities from, you know, civil immigration enforcement. Once leadership started to understand that, they've become, you know, more receptive to the notion. But there, as Adriana said, there's been a lot of negative input to the representatives and the senators, and some of them don't want to, you know, they're with us in their hearts, but politically they're not willing to take that stand yet. And again, our voices matter. Okay, there was another question.
My question got answered.
Could you just step back and tell a little bit of the story about how the North Star Act really came to be, you know, in the ways that you find represents the work and the importance of it and how people are coming together?
You want me to say that? Or
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't get the question exactly. Step back and what, provide some history? Is that what you're...
Yeah, like when you know, there's always where was the nexus where the seed that people came around to say, to build now what is the North Star Act. Sometimes that's months, sometimes that's years and decades.
Okay. Yeah, so about 5 years ago, so one of the things, besides being part of Plymouth Congregational Church, I'm also part of an organization called ICOM, the Minnesota Interfaith Coalition on Immigration. And about 5 years ago, ICOM and the Episcopal Church of Minnesota and 2 or 3 other organizations that are, I can't recall right now, thought, okay, we need to do something at the state level to separate local, the original focus was local law enforcement, state and local law enforcement from federal immigration enforcement. And we formed what, toxic word, was the Sanctuary State Coalition. Okay, and this grew to about 20, a group of about 20 faith communities working to apply this separation between law enforcement at the state and local level and law enforcement or immigration law enforcement. Okay, that was fine. We introduced a bill. It went nowhere. And then in 2023, Senator Fateh and Representative Feist both came on board as very, very enthusiastic supporters and offered to be chief authors for a bill. Okay, at that point, we said, okay, we're not going to be the Sanctuary State Coalition anymore. We're going to have a new bill that's going to talk about safety, trust, and respect. So and we're the northern states, so this is the North Star Act. This bill was written it was written by primarily a set of lawyers from the Binger Center at the University of Minnesota, the Immigration Law Center, and the ACLU. They were huge contributors to this, with input from other organizations, with input from our 2 chief sponsors. This is the bill that's now in front of us. Okay, so I hope that. Yeah, okay, so I hope that gives you what you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add just something quickly because it's very important. Before ICOM actually came to be the incredible organization that it is, a local immigrant activist, we were pushing Minneapolis to be more proactive for immigrant rights. So I was heavily involved with Minnesota Immigrant Rights Action Committee, MIRAC. We actually presented the Sanctuary Now platform before City Council with 13 different demands. And one of those demands was for the U visa certification. And it became a city ordinance. Our previous council member, Elizabeth Clinton, was the champion of that. So we wanted to keep expanding into the, state level. And I remember specifically that Representative Aisha Gomez was running for office, and we asked her, actually, at Greg's church, St. Joan of Arc, if she was willing to be the author for Sanctuary. It's like, okay, you're radical, you want to do it? Will you? And she said yes. So that was the birth of. And ever since in 2018, I brought my nephew with me. I kind of took a little break from, organizing so I could raise this kid. And ICOM stepped in, and then the rest is history. And then I feel like I'm back, right? So.
We lucked out.
Has there been any involvement by employers who hire undocumented workers, especially in the agricultural industry and the construction trades?
I know that answer, yes. We have an incredible organization named Fe y Justicia. They were part of Unidos Minnesota. And they are located in St. Cloud, and they have a lot of connections with agriculture because they were heavily invested and involved for their driver's licenses. But believe it or not, these agriculture leaders don't want to come out publicly to support this. I mean, the fear is just like beyond my comprehension. So to your point, yes, but they don't want to come out publicly. There's another question behind.
I'll just self-disclose, in my day job, I'm the lobbyist for Hennepin County, our county board. In direct response to Director Cerrillo's advocacy, amended our state legislative platform so that we could actually endorse this bill. So the first lesson I want to tell everybody is actually contact, in addition to legislators, contact your local governments. I believe the city of Minneapolis has officially endorsed it as part of their legislative process, but St. Louis Park, I mean, every suburb, every school district, every Met Council, you need to be writing them, the people that represent you, and tell them that they need to take a policy position, a fundamental public policy position to endorse this legislation. What they're describing is a tidal wave of opposition that they're up against, that legislators are up against. And so what we have is the power to change the public narrative so that this becomes an easy thing to do. This becomes a desirable thing to do. I think you said you're from Brooklyn Park. Okay, that's where Speaker of the House Melissa Hortman is from. We mentioned somebody's from Edina in St. Louis Park, so we've got Senator Latz. Senator Disick is now the new chair of State and Local Government Committee, so this bill will have to travel through at least 2 committees in the Senate. If anybody is from Plymouth, okay, Plymouth, that is where Jenny Cleavorn is from. She chairs the State and Local Government Committee in the House. So my point is there's some tactical things that I think collectively Plymouth can be doing to really create a wave of support to change the conversation. You heard Senator Frentz from Mankato, from Blue Earth County, super scared. He's, you know, in the absence of the public reaching out to legislators and saying, support this, you've got a chorus of people saying, don't support it, throw them all out, kick them all out, round them, arrest them, they. So I just want to say there's a lot of action that you can take in addition to supporting legislature. One small correction, you kept saying Senator Murphy. Senator Murphy is the majority leader. Senator Bobby Joe Champion is the president. You should be calling both of them, but Senator Murphy, not related to me, Senator Murphy is the majority leader and controls that. There's a 1-vote majority in the Senate, and that's the reason why this is so precarious, the level of support. I'm not letting don't quote me on this because I'll get in trouble for my job. I don't want to let Senator Latz off the hook, but they can pass something out of committee, and if they don't have the votes on the floor, they can't pass it. So literally, it's like a 1-seat majority. You've got to have you have to have all the DFL, or I should say, you have to have at least half the Senate on board to pass this. I'm not going to make a partisan issue. And then the last thing I just want to say is, you heard me say just now, the Hennepin County adopted and planted our platform. We had a whole meeting because of Director Cerrillo and the advocates. The county board at the very last minute, the day before we presented our full legislative platform to our delegation, which is a third of the Senate, third of the legislature, changed it to adopt this and made it part of the presentation. So you can have real impact, real time, by connecting with every level of government that you have. So I didn't mean to take over your program, but I just...
No, thank you.
And I want to say...
partnership, so come here.
The final thing is, because this is official county work, to advance this, you have me as a member of Plymouth here to help you engage in very tactical ways in addition to what you're hearing there. So I'm kind of, I'm here as a member, but I'm also here as the Hennepin County lobbyist, and we're my board, and the board chair is a first-generation Filipino American. So this is real for her family. This is real for the county board, and so it's real for me in a professional way. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a blessing, how magic happens. So I appreciate you, love you.
I would just like to piggyback on this a little bit. Yeah, thank you very, very much. It was really good. And that's an important point. It's not just contacting, state legislators about this. Contacting the local government organizations is important. The other thing that's important, if you have connections with business organizations or professional associations that would support this or may support this, we'd like to know about those connections. We'd like it if you would help us set up meetings with them. That doesn't mean you have to lead the meeting. It means you just have to give us the connection. We can come with you to a meeting. This can be, education organizations, health professionals, As I said, different businesses. I mean, you saw the slide on how much of the meatpacking industry here is powered by immigrants. Okay, Hormel, you know, the meatpacking organizations, they should be supporting this bill, but they have to know about it first. So if you've got connections to help us tell them about it, please let us know. Okay, Jim.
You mentioned driver's licenses, and I remember we have had bills in the past on driver's licenses broadly including undocumented immigrants. I don't know how that came out. Where does that stand?
It passed.
Did pass. Okay, that's what I want to know. Very good.
Yeah, and actually, we see this as continuing that work. It was a hard struggle last term to get it passed. The session went, well into the night before the final vote was taken, with all kinds of horrendous amendments added and defeated. That's what it takes to get this passed and to keep moving forward in this struggle. But we can do it.
Yes.
As long as we all work together and make our voices heard.
Absolutely.
Some of us
Oh,
are
oops.
ignorant about what this act is.
Okay.
Where's the best place to find out?
Okay, so, good question. The website is the northstaract.org. Okay, northstaract.org. Make sure it's org. Yeah,
Put it
right.
on the,
So you can go,
Tech savvy.
pardon?
You've got to be tech savvy. You've got to know how to manipulate some
Well, you have to type.
basic
You have to type.
technology.
Northstaract.org. It's easy to type it in.
but there's a table right
Yeah.
outside as well.
Yeah.
With more information and
Sure.
actual printouts if you are not tech savvy. Absolutely,
And-
right outside. With more information.
Is that the cards that you referred to?
Yeah.
Yes, and also we have some printouts with basic information
Okay.
as well. Would that be helpful?
Pardon?
Would that be helpful?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Okay, good.
wonderful.
There was another, yeah, back.
One more, okay. Please be sure that you contact the governor on this.
I love it that he's doing all the heavy work.
The political winds need to go blowing in the direction of support. One reason why I mention that, the Democratic National Convention this summer is going to be in Chicago. For those of you who aren't aware, the governor of Texas is engaged in a fight around new arrivals, sending buses and planes to Chicago to drop off new arrivals there. In this political battle, what they're trying to do is sow chaos so that it's messy. It looks like Chicago 1968. This is a national political strategy. And so the reason why it connects to this is they're trying to sow chaos here. The plan is to open up the map so that blue states become disputed in purple if there is a fight around immigration reform, around new arrivals. They want to use that as a political wedge issue. And what we don't want is for Minnesota to be opened up. As when we speak with our values, when we petition the government, when we petition the legislative branch and the executive branch, we can create a wave of support that makes this a non-issue, a non-divisive issue. When we can define it in ways that everyone shares our values, everyone shares Plymouth's values, we can win. But I want to be sure that we don't let the governor's office off the hook on this, because in the absence, the concern that you were hearing from legislative leaders is shared by the governor. And he's signed up as a surrogate for President Biden. So regardless of what you think about the election, just know in the absence of us speaking, it makes it easy to say no to this. And when it gets passed, it still needs to be signed by the governor. And if the governor doesn't believe that this is something that he needs to do, he may not sign it. So be sure, I'm not gonna say don't let him off the hook. Be sure that you include the governor's office in your advocacy. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. And
So,
the governor
question?
is aware as well. So just to piggyback on that, one of our leadership organizations. Like I mentioned, there are over 40 different organizations supporting this work, and we have 10 leadership. They are like the bedrock of, the foundation of this work. They're heavily invested by providing resources, people, and, so one of those organizations is CAPI. They're located in Brooklyn Park. And the executive director of CAPI had a conversation with the governor, not in regards to this, but she brought it up. And she reported to us, I just finished my call with the governor. He was rather vague, since he is unable to support or confirm at this time, and said that he met with the vice president last week and spoke with her about the need for federal government to make changes. He's hoping that the federal government will do something, but this bill is on his radar, and he will be tracking it through this session. So everybody know, every representative, every senator, even the governor. So we are out in the open. So now it's going to be very strategic in how we move forward, because we can make this happen. What's the timing? So we're in the process of making those decisions and establishing a conversation with leadership of the Senate and the House. We need to have frank conversations, and it doesn't have to be out in the open with the public either, to know where they are, to know where they stand, and what is possible. Personally speaking, and removing my head as the lead coordinator, and as a person that I do know a lot of individuals that are affected by this. I am documented, right, but I'm still brown, and I'm still targeted. I'll be okay compromising to making this possible through provisions. The most important thing is to protect our immigrant communities, but we haven't had that conversation. So the timing will be, it's still in the works, but we need to have something solid by no later than the second week of March, because this session is short.
Thank you for all the transparency and all of this information of what's happening. It is so helpful right now. I'd love to hear about how the students are being supported at this current moment. As a Minneapolis Public School teacher, I would love to hear what are my responsibilities and how we can continue on this journey with them.
Gracias. First of all, thank you for the work that you're doing. I would love to connect with you, after the presentation. Where do you teach?
I teach at Emerson Spanish Immersion School.
Calmate. That's my family.
Yes, which this is, I also teach at other high schools and college and schools, and they're overflowing with students. They cannot bring in more students, and so students are now being funneled to other schools, and the teachers cannot communicate with the students. They have to use translating equipment, and even then, the students are being tested math and in English, and they have no clue what they're being tested on. They're just all over.
And what you are referring to is that we have seen an increase of newcomers. So the controversy is like, oh, we're going to be a magnet, for all these illegals. First of all, there a lot of these individuals, they're refugees, and they are here seeking political asylum. So they are already registered with the government. They're in deportation proceedings already, in the sense that, they have a date in court, and it's really hard to get political asylum cases approved. That's just a reality. So what we have done in Minneapolis Public Schools, I have been not only an advocate, a fearless advocate, and gotten in trouble so many times for speaking my mind, because there's no way to compromise, right? So the increase of newcomers has been from 700 last year to like 2,500, 3,000. And still counting. So we have the Latina Academic Department that you can definitely reach out to, and the Multilingual Department as well. I visited Ann Watton this last week, and the principal shared that they went from having 50 students to 120 in a few months. So I connected the principal immediately with the Multilingual Department and the Latina Academic Department, and we are organizing an event to provide those support systems for our families. So I feel like, you know, here and there and over there, but I'm so blessed to have incredible people, you know, with me to be carrying this load because it's heavy.
So, do you have a question, Jane?
Could I interject a question here? One of the criticisms we hear about the bill, and I'm not sure whether it's accurate or not, that if we embrace the North Star philosophy, that we lose federal funding. Is that correct?
You know, it's always hard to say. We do know this, that during the Trump administration, the Trump administration tried to cut off funding to so-called sanctuary cities. That went to court. The court ruled against the administration. You know, that funding could not be cut off just because the cities passed ordinances that the federal government didn't like. So, you know,
That's encouraging.
That's the best answer we have is there's no precedent that says that could happen. Yeah, thanks.
Come here.
Yeah.
Come here. Join the team.
It actually may have the positive effect. Just because of what he's just saying, like it's not legally permissible to cut off funding. So what also happened? So this happened in Minneapolis. It also happened in two sheriffs ago. The Hennepin County Sheriff Stanek agreed to cooperate with ICE detainers. There are a series of social services benefits that counties in Minnesota administer, and counties like Hennepin and Ramsey, hopefully an increasing number, have ways of not asking questions around citizenship status so that persons who are underdocumented can access those services. This gives a statutory pretext for the flexibility we operate in a gray area, basically, in order to make sure that the social safety net is as broad as possible. We operate in a legally gray area. The North Star Act actually gives some statutory basis for us to do those flexible things. And so it has ways of opening up services in a freer way, especially for counties that are kind of on the margins, like, oh, we want to do the right thing, but we don't have the courage, or our attorneys are telling us to be overly cautious. And I'm just talking about counties. I will not comment on the school district because we have a sitting school board member here that can probably do that better. But so it's a really good thing because it gives courage, and that gives the attorneys a way to say, yes, you can do these things.
So I know we're getting close to the end of the time here. We could take maybe one or two more questions if people have them. Please fire away. Nothing more? Okay, so just, one.
Get involved.
I'm sorry?
We need to get involved.
Yeah, are you getting that up? Okay, do you want to speak?
Sure, no, you can.
Okay, so this is, the final thing I'd say is you can join us. You can be part of this activity. Go to info@northstaract.com, send email to info@northstaract.com. There are opportunities there for how to volunteer to work, to support this bill, beyond simply, writing, contacting your legislators. We've got a research team, we've got a communications team, we've got a legislative team, an outreach team. We could use your help on any of those. So please feel free to join us.
There's one more question over here.
A question?
If I had a person say, what difference would this bill make? What's the key difference that would be felt if this bill passed?
Public safety. Public safety. Public safety. We want to have our immigrant communities to be in good relations with community, and if we don't have good relations with law enforcement, reporting crimes, we have an issue that affects all of us, so it's public safety.
So it would bring cooperation and collaboration
I can give you an example personally, like when I moved from Texas to Florida, in Texas, like immigration officers wear a green, suit. And I remember I went to Subway with a friend of mine, and they were, it was not the local police, but I think it was the county that in Florida, they wear green outfits. I was about to order my sandwich, and I ran out. We don't know. We don't know. I assumed that it was immigration. So I ran out, and I remember at the time we had, the public, phones, right? So I went to the booth to pretend that I was speaking to someone. And my friend came over, and she's like, ¿Por qué te fuiste? Like, why did you go? And I'm like, La migra. And she's like, I'm sorry, that's not La migra. That's the county sheriff. So we live in fear. We do. We don't know, right? We assume that law enforcement is representing immigration, and we don't want that. We want to be in good relations with law enforcement because it's just, it's common sense, good policy at the end of the day.
I'm afraid we will have to cut it short here, but thank you, Adriana, so much, and Tom. Wonderful. And please come back next Sunday.
Make sure you write your legislatures. I don't want to see, I don't want to see anyone, that's what I tell people, holding a sign against Trump when he got elected. This is the opportunity. This is a moment that we stand up and do what is right. So call your legislatures, email them. Make sure that you sign this right outside. There is a table. Please, the moment for action, it is now. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
That's good. That's good. Next Sunday, Chris Stainbrook, president of the Indian Land Tenure Foundation, will share some perhaps surprising things about the history and current status of Indian lands in Minnesota. So please join us again, and thank you.